What's up, everybody? We're back. We're back with another episode of the L&C podcast. I'm Christian, of course. The L is absent again. No fault of Lorenzo's. He's got a busy work schedule, and we just couldn't make it work this time. But I'm once again joined by another amazing comedian friend of mine, who I've known for a little over a year now. I think it's fair to say. We met in DC at Hot Mike at Fat Pete's Barbecue, and he's been just an awesome presence in every room since. Big fan of jazz, which I'm grateful for, because that means we have at least one audience member really at every show. But I am grateful for that. He is incredibly talented and funny. I'm pleased to present Mr. Steve Nelson. How you doing, Steve?
Okay, Christian. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing well. You know, just trying to balance work with, you know, the crazy comedy stuff. And I cut back on music in favor of comedy. So I'm getting back out at the open mics and hey,
don't give it up. Don't give the jazz up. It's really good. You're really good, and you know, I got some great compliments from people I brought along. So
well, thank you. I was so glad that you came to a unique show of mine that I hope to do something similar again, where it was just me and a piano player, the two of us, for a full length 90-minute performance of pretty much exclusively jazz standards, ballads, and that was, like I said, it was kind of a new thing for me, and it seemed like you and your family enjoyed it, and I was really pleased to hear that. I'll let you know when I do something like that again, but for the foreseeable future, with the band, with the larger ensemble I was a part of, I don't think that's gonna really be as frequent for me, just because I can't balance all the practices and stuff right now.
Yeah, I know how it is. Yeah, I've still got work things to do too. So
right. I hear you have a trip planned, right, to Key West.
Yeah, Key West. I go in the winter, so starting December 1, I'll be there until the end of March.
Okay.
It's something I've done every year the last 10 years. I can work from down there, which is good. I'm working less and less, so that's also good. And I'm part of the comedy scene down there. There's a club called Comedy Key West. The great club, and actually there was a movie. You can get it on Punch Up. It's directed by Joe List, called Tom Dustin, Portrait of a Comedian. I guess I'm giving a plug, right?
Yeah.
But it's a great movie, and it talks about the club. So it's
is it this one with a rooster as the logo?
You got it. That's it.
There it is. Check out Comedy Key West if you're in the area. I'm sure those are some great shows. So you do
open mic nights are Tuesday, and you'll see me every day there, and occasionally I even open for like the name comedians. So
that's great. That's
my highlight of my career occurred the week before COVID. I opened for Shane Gillis.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
And it's funny because Shane relates to my introduction to comedy, because when I was like working, I had a coworker. His name is Ryan Gillis, and he was doing a graduation show at the DC Improv, and Ryan is Shane's cousin. And I saw Ryan do his improv, and that's how it all started for me. So
wow.
So there is a connection there. So
full circle too, and then you end up in DC of all places. Yeah. That's really cool. That's wow. Yeah. I'll definitely have to check it out, because I'm a regular Florida tourist. I think I'm only in Florida for Disney or Orlando activities, but I'll definitely swing over and check out the comedy club next time I'm there, because it's always cool to see every area's little microcosm of open mics and the local community. There's like the one that comes to mind for me, other than DC, is, I don't know if you've been out to Delaware at all, or Del Mar, where like kind of Delaware and Maryland meet, Salisbury,
Yeah.
that kind of junction.
I've never done anything out there. Yeah.
Well, you would have no reason to, but that's where that's where Lorenzo lives.
Okay.
And it's just kind of a little pocket where there's a bunch of guys that perform all around Maryland and all over Delaware, but they've created their own little ecosystem. I'm trying to think of other places. There's places in West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, they have the Church of Satire, that comedy club. I'm not sure if you've seen that online, but that's a really small, not small, but it's a really intimate, cool comedy club that I guess they converted from an old church. They turned it into a comedy club, so they have the pews and everything, and a big tall raised stage. It's a really cool place. I recommend checking that out. If they have any contests or mic nights and you're in the area, definitely Church of Satire is a cool spot.
Yeah, no, I try to go, like when I'm out into a different city, I try to go to the comedy clubs. I've got relatives in California, so I've done the comedy club in Oakland and a comedy club. I actually did the belly room at the Comedy Store in LA.
Oh, wow.
For several years. Do that. It was just an open mic, but it was, Bill Burr showed up one night, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for real. I was just yesterday, I had on the podcast, I was talking to Marco Trinidad, who I'm not sure you ever met, because he was a Virginia-based comedian at the time that I met him over a year ago. He was in Fredericksburg, Virginia, but he just moved out to California, and he's doing all of those LA open mics, and was kind of telling me about the rigmarole that you go through to sign up now. I don't know what it was like then when you went, but it seems like everything's a bringer show. Everything's got strings attached, and but it's still, he gets some great videos. He gets some. There's a lot of great clubs that actually film everybody's sets.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm. You don't get that. You don't get too much of that out here where we are. There was a place in Woodbridge, of all areas, Woodbridge, Virginia, like Potomac Mills.
Yeah, yep.
There's a place that Brandon Moore used to run, friend of the podcast, Brandon.
Yep.
He had his own open mic, and they would film everybody's sets with really great high-tech video, high fidelity audio, all of it, and they put it all on YouTube in one giant VOD. And that was great while it lasted. I hope that comes back, because you don't get too many opportunities to get yourself on tape.
Yeah, that's true. I did one in 2011. That's the last one I did. So.
Mm-hmm. So when would you say we can kind of do the basic podcast interview questions? But when would you say you started stand up, and what drew you to it?
Yeah, well, it's 2007, and as I mentioned, it was Ryan Gillis, who was a co-worker of mine, mm-hmm. In Arlington, where we both worked. He's now moved to Florida, but he was a funny guy. He was funny in the office, and he was an improv guy. He was not really a stand-up guy, but we would do skits, for our company retreats and stuff like that, and so he did a graduation show over at the DC Improv, and I saw him. There's another person I knew named Rachel Loper, and she was big in like musical comedy as well, and I just loved it. And they mentioned that, hey, you can take stand-up classes here at the DC Improv, and I signed up. And I don't know if you know Matt Kazam. He was a fixture over at the DC Improv for a number of years. He's now in Las Vegas. He was my teacher. So,
oh, nice.
I never thought I was going to do this as a living. I thought it was just, oh, it's a lark, and
Uh-huh.
maybe I'll be better as a public speaker, but I just got the bug, so
Yeah.
it
That's
was
how it
bug,
goes.
so
That's how, it's a disease. Once you catch it, it's hard to shake. You have that bug.
yeah.
I think it's
Mhm.
I think the big fixtures at the DC Improv right now are or at least the people that I know who perform there regularly are all the people involved with the ASAP comedy program. So Dwayne White, Monica Daly, Romain Mostafavi. Have you met Romain before?
No, yeah,
He's
I'm
he's
not.
big,
Yeah,
but no,
yeah.
I don't remember. I don't know what's his name again. Matt
At Kazam,
Kazam. Yeah.
yeah, and then later on, I'm trying to remember, is Chris. What was his last name? There was a guy named Chris who's in the Philly area, and he
Hmm.
was also did like shows. And then I would do, they'd have those open mics at the DC Improv in the second room, and those were fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've
I've seen.
stopped. I kind of,
No, I think
but
that's my goal. I'd love to get on an open mic at the DC Improv. It's so tough now to break into. You really have to know somebody, and you really have to show up to all the random open mics going on,
yeah,
so that so you meet the right people. But
yeah,
no, it's
so,
cool. It's always cool to hear
yeah,
the evolution of these spots today, and to hear the evolution of our
yeah,
DMV ecosystem, because there's so many spots that just don't exist anymore. There's so many. I feel like there's a new mic every month. There two crop
yeah.
up, and two die off.
If they're not doing trivia, they're doing comedy. That's the
Right,
way I look at it.
right,
Yeah,
right, right. Well, that's good. That's good.
yeah,
And so you said you tried it uh, because of the people you met, because you met Ryan through work. Um, but did you really try it because you thought it would help with public speaking, or you thought you could kind of uh, glean some kind of that you could translate it or transfer it to something else?
yeah. No, yeah. I was, at that time, I was doing a fair amount of public speaking. I'm in the legal industry.
Hmm.
I do recruiting and consulting, and so I'd be, asked to talk to, law firms and different conferences and so forth. And so felt like I wasn't really hitting it,
Mm.
doing, the this public speaking. So I thought, it should help. I mean, really, it's part of the thing is, getting over the fear and,
Right.
going up there and trying new things. And it did help.
Hmm.
But in reality, what it really did was got my, got this new interest, and just fell in love with the comedy. And I
Right.
was,
Right.
particularly in the early years, I was doing open mics every week in
Hmm.
the area. I've kind of cut back a little bit now, but in Key West, I'll say that Key West, I do it as much as I can, because there it's a very contained, like, everybody, because
Hmm.
there's only one club, and everybody that does the open mics. And you also, I get to know all the touring comedians, because we're, it's all part of the same crowd. And so, you hang out with, all the touring comedians that are there, along with the owners of the club and the people who perform there. So to me, that's like it's a whole different vibe down there.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
That's what I like about
Key-
Virginia too. I like being in Virginia, knowing that okay, I'm going to see all the same faces and all the same places, and I don't have to worry about uh, embarrassing myself or feeling nervous about networking or meeting everybody. It's nice to kind of come home to Virginia, and then okay, I can venture out to DC and take a little more risk. You know.
yeah, the Key West it's amazing, because is like Key West is such a unique place. I
Hmm.
don't know if you've ever been there, but to give you an idea
No.
of what it's all about is, you take a plane to Key West, and you go to, and you land at the airport, and you go to the men's room, and the first thing you see over the urinal is hydration in the Keys, IV support if you're hungover. And
Okay, I'm
and that's
getting a
what that's
picture
happening.
now.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And so and the thing is, Key West is it's not just that. I mean, there's everybody. You got big gay community right down there. Really, has been a long established gay community. You've got, you got the raucous drinking, and then you got a lot, senior citizens.
Is it an
a lot of
open?
artists.
Is it an open container area? Are the laws different?
Yeah, no, it's pretty open. You can take drinks outside,
Wow.
and yeah, it's you go there on a Friday night or Saturday night on Duval Street. It's a wild place. It's a wild place.
I have
So,
the shirt I'm wearing right now. I got in New Orleans, so I just had an experience like that. You walk around with the Bloody Marys and the daiquiris, and can drive around with your alcohol out, as long as you're not drinking it. It's fair game.
So there's a coffee shop in Key West. It's called Doing Work Coffee, and I say that's just the wrong name for that. You shouldn't have a coffee shop named Doing Work Coffee. I mean, it's really better off would be Wasting Away Coffee, Margaritaville. Even jerking off coffee,
right?
Would be that gives you the vibe of Key West,
Well, you think Florida in general, you think of Florida with a certain connotation, I think, or most people do.
Yeah, but Key West is not. It's like a different state. It's not part of Florida. In fact, Tom Dustin, I'll give him credit because it's his routine, but he has a whole routine about how Key West is not like Florida, and that the rest of Florida is different, and that in fact the people who can't hack Florida come to Key West.
So is it Florida light or Florida on steroids or something totally different?
Kind of both, really. Okay. I mean, in some ways it's Florida light because it's very relaxed. But like, if you want to be a wild man, like the Florida man syndrome, there's a lot of that in Florida and Key West too.
Yeah,
people drive into the ocean.
Just because of the drunkenness and the
drunkenness.
I just typed in Google. I typed in crazy Key West stories to see if anything came up, but I'm not really seeing anything. Is Kenny Chesney from Key West? That's what
I don't think so.
I don't know. Maybe that's just a lyric. Yeah, I'm not seeing any.
That's where Jimmy Buffett was. That's where he made his name. Was Key West.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Well, until I see older, he moved to Palm Beach. Yeah, until I see somebody like Alligator Rodeo or Meth Zombie or something, I'm just going to take your word for it that it's crazy. It sounds nice though. It's what you're describing. It sounds like someplace my dad has been eyeballing for retirement. My dad's an older gay man and likes his wine and spirits, so he's I'm sure he's been glancing at it. He always goes to Palm Springs. That's where he's always
in California.
In California, yeah. So he's on the other coast most of the time, but I'm sure he's had his eye on Key West on this coast. Well, that's great. So how often did you say you go? How often do you make that trip?
Okay, I'll go there. Yeah, I go there for it's 4 months straight from December 1 to the end of March. I'll be there.
Wow, once a year?
Yeah,
wintertime?
Every year I go. Every year. I just yeah.
Well,
I don't like the winters.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't get any of that winter weather then year round.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, it's already too cold for comfort right now. Where I work in and around freezers all day long, so I'm for a time I was accustomed to the bitter cold, to like brisk weather, but something about this global warming, Steve, it's no amount of walk-in freezers and liquid nitrogen has prepared me for this wind chill. I don't know what's happening. I envy you that you can get away from it.
Yeah.
You know. Well, that's great. That's good. I wanted to ask you about your music interests. I know I talked about how you've been to several of my jazz shows. Again, thank you for that. But I mean, is jazz primarily what you're into music-wise, or would you say you have a kind of a broad range of genres you like?
I'd say jazz is my favorite, but I do like, classic rock, some indie stuff, reggae, not so much country and western. I mean, some things I've heard that are good, but I've been a jazz fan since really college years.
As a jazz,
and even though
I was going to say,
and I don't play.
Yeah,
I don't play.
That's so uncommon as a jazz fan that you don't play an instrument or you don't sing or anything. That's like I have family members that are jazz fans that they don't know the music that you know about. They're not deep into it. They talk about jazz and it's like what's playing at Olive Garden, or it's Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole, but you're hard in the paint listening to this stuff. I wonder, like, when were you exposed to it on that level, and when did you start to really delve in deeper?
Now, I think the album that sort of got me into jazz was Miles Davis's Kind of Blue. Kind of Blue is a great album, but that wasn't the one. It was In a Silent Way was the record. Because that was sort of the fusion of rock and jazz. That record, Bitches Brew, of course, was the next record that came out. That was terrific as well. So I started from that standpoint. But then, I got into all the classic people, Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk, Charles Mingus is another great person. In fact, I went to a show right when I was getting into jazz with a really good friend of mine who's from Pennsylvania, but he spent some time in Washington. We went to a show at Crampton Auditorium at Howard University, and Mingus was playing.
Wow.
And so my friend and I, of course, we get there. We're college students. We bring a couple of joints with us, and we go in there, and we, of course, once Mingus starts playing, light up the joints and start smoking. We're the only people in the place, And first of all, we're about one of 10 white people, and we're the only people in the place smoking joints. People are looking at us. They didn't say a word.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I learned about white privilege.
Seriously, that's. And you're at Howard University too, where it shouldn't matter. It's kind of like you are the odd man out.
Right, exactly. But they didn't give us a hard time. They looked at us like, where are these people from?
In the theater, you were in the auditorium.
In the auditorium. There, back then, if you would go to a rock show, then people were always smoking in, wherever you went. But
that's hilarious. Now you would do an edible. I think you would do something a little more discreet.
Oh, absolutely. Or vape. There's no way. I don't smoke anymore. Yeah.
That's I hear that and I get so jealous. I'm so envious of, because to be an old soul like I've been called by a lot of people, to enjoy the music that I like and the artists that I still buy music. I buy music on iTunes and I buy CDs and stuff, to listen to what I enjoy. I'm listening to all people who are dead or retired, and I get some of the most joy on YouTube from just watching full length concerts of like Oscar Peterson or Dizzy Gillespie or Ella Fitzgerald. Sarah Vaughan is my favorite singer by far, and just seeing their mannerisms or the way they speak, the extended interviews, stuff like that. I eat that up for breakfast, man. I really do. You mentioned Charlie Parker. When I went to New Orleans with my boyfriend, you met my boyfriend Duncan. He took us on this trip. I have the shirt on now. We went to went to a venue called Snug Harbor, which is over on Frenchman Street in New Orleans. I'm not sure if you've been, but
Yeah, I know that area. I know that area. That's like that's off. It's not part of the French Quarter, but it's off there, and that's where the really good music is.
Exactly. Every bar has the door wide open and the windows open, and the live band's playing all up and down the street there, and it's all jazz music. And so the Snug Harbor is kind of right in the smack in the center of that, across from an art park. We went to see a show. One of the Marsalis brothers, slipping my mind, but a drummer, he was doing a tribute to Charlie Parker because it was his birthday, the night of the show we went to see. So we're there. They're setting up each song with a little brief explanation, some riffing with the audience, and it's just the tightest quartet you could ask for, playing some of the prettiest music imaginable, like the stuff that I had just been listening to, in the headphones, at work, going to sleep to, or driving to. Seeing it in person, and where we were seated on the balcony right above the piano player, watching the piano player's technique and movements, watching the bass player with the rag, sweating, all of it. It's just remarkable. That's where I would retire. Yeah. That's where I would like to end up, is one of those places.
Yeah, but you're talking about like enjoying all these people who no longer are with us. I always feel like I should have been. I grew up really in the 70s, and I wish I had grown up in the 50s, because that's where that's where it was all happening with jazz, and it was like baseball's golden era. Things that I really loved. Was happening, the whole beat phase and so forth. So. I always feel like I'm a little bit. There's a Beach Boys song called "I Just Wasn't Made for These Times," and I feel like sometimes I'm like that.
Yeah, it feels like that, especially with this specific genre, or like what you're describing, like the 50s jazz. So many of the prominent artists died really young, of really like horrific or tragic circumstances. Some of them, heroin addicts, some of them, one case, you fall out of a window while doing heroin. It's like,
yeah, and then there's Clifford Brown. It was just an auto accident.
Clifford Brown, exactly. Get hit by a car. It's terrible. It's terrible. I did the tribute to him at a show. And you were there when I was practicing for it. You were there when I was testing it out in an open mic, because I was doing a comedy show where they wanted me to play music in between everybody's comedy set. So one of the songs I played was "I Remember Clifford," because that's the song that Benny Golson wrote after that car accident, right, as a tribute to him, and the whole time.
I remember you were warming that up, and I knew the song, and I was just like, I think that knocked you out.
It's like, this is so obscure. Why do you know this? Exactly. How the hell do you know this? And so the whole time, so the actual performance was at a Busboys and Poets, and the whole time, and I'm glad you weren't there, because it was not as tasteful as the open mic that I was practicing it at. But I played the song tastefully, but in between I would make remarks about where I was in the song, how it illustrated the point in the car accident that Clifford was in, or at each stage of the collision. So that was how I got laughter in the middle of playing a really sad, beautiful ballad. that was my idea of, because I'm like, how do I play this at a comedy show? How am I gonna get away with it and not just bring the whole room down? But it worked out. It was fun. I think somebody recorded it, but no, music like that, man, I love it. Top 3 or 4 artists, or just list off the artists that you're most fond of. I'm guessing Miles Davis is up there for you.
Yeah, there's so many. Sonny Rollins is a big favorite of mine.
Great
But
stuff.
on the other hand, they're going in a completely different direction. Sun Ra is somebody I love. I love the orchestra. Sun Ra. He played space music. In the 50s and 60s. They have his band, even though he's long gone, the band still plays shows all up and down the East Coast, and it's cosmic music. It's a completely different thing, and so you should definitely find out about it, because it's it runs the gamut. He does standards. He'll do big band standards, but then he'll do the far out really type stuff. So so that's another guy that I do. But it's just all of it is. I mean, I like the old stuff. Duke Ellington. But then I like the stuff from the 50s, 60s. As I said, Miles Davis and all the members of his band. Every one of them. Wayne Shorter, Tony Williams, John McLaughlin. Anybody who was in the Miles Davis bands from like the 50s through the 70s, they're all great musicians, and they did great music.
I had the privilege one time a few years ago. I was volunteering at the Hampton Jazz Legacy Foundation event at the Hampton Coliseum, and the convention center, and they have all these artists come through. It's mainly R&B, but they have some straight up jazz people as well. But you got people like Tom Brown there. You've got all the R&B artists, like people like Rick Braun or Huge Groove sax player, all of like the Kenny G type R&B that or smooth jazz that's very.
Yeah, that's not my scene.
Exactly. That's not. And rightfully so. I mean, it's very. What's the word? It's very curated and it's almost neutered. It's too well mixed. It's too in line. I like the jazz that's more raw, unfiltered. Where it's just a few instruments playing without all this crazy studio mixing happening after the fact. And anyway, so it's a bunch of artists like that. But I had the headliner of that was Miles Davis's bass player later in life. What's his name? Marcus Miller. Are you familiar with this guy? You might not be. But this dude, was out of this world, man. I'm telling you, like, he got up there, he played 10 or 12 different instruments from bass guitar, his primary instrument, to bass clarinet, to bassoon, all each on a different song, and masterfully. Like, this was a dude who can hang and do just about anything, and that was remarkable to watch. And then later in the night, once the main event was over with, they had an after party in a different room of the convention center, and they had the DC EU band playing Eurythmics Unlimited, all the current members there playing on stage and just jamming out. And Marcus got up there, jammed, and anybody who was there who had an instrument could just join in and get in where they fit in. And I was on stage with all of them, and there's moments like those that I'm always looking for. I'm always looking for, like, man, where can I not only meet these people and have even like a 5-minute conversation with them, but then also experience the music alongside them too. That's it's unlike any other feeling. Yeah. But you're not a musician, so what am I?
Yeah, I tried playing flute. I picked up a flute in college and tried it and kept working at it. I just never could master it. So
yeah, it's not easy. I never tried woodwind instruments, but trumpet was something I got into just because come time for middle school, you're signing up for electives.
Was your dad into music? Was he a musician?
Yeah, he grew up playing piano, and then he played trombone in grade school. I think in junior high was mainly when he played trombone, but he still plays piano a little bit. My mom is a singer. Her mom is a singer. So music has roughly been in my family on both sides for quite a while. But trumpet was just this thing that I chose to play in middle school to take the elective program, and I really just was better at it than I thought I would be, and continued on with it. I always say, like, if you know somebody who can play an instrument, tell them to keep practicing or find ways to practice that aren't going to annoy their significant other or their neighbors or get them evicted. There are ways to keep the musculature up, to keep your chops. Like, I buzz in the car, usually in the privacy of my cars, when I'm working the muscles and doing fingerings on the steering wheel. But yeah, and if you want to learn an instrument, I know it's probably less because you're already doing comedy, you already have an artistic outlet for yourself, but you can always still take lessons, Steve. Find an instrument you really like and just start taking lessons, and little by little you'll build it up, and you'll be able to play the songs you want to play, or you'll be able to play in the keys that you're most comfortable with. In flute it would be C, on alto sax it's E flat, tenor sax B flat, trumpets in B flat. Just learn the basic major scales, and you're all set, and you can get out there and jam out.
Seems a lot harder than comedy, I will say that.
It really isn't. You know what it is, though? It's pretentious, and that's what I don't like about jazz music, is because I feel like it's walled itself off from everybody who really would love listening to it and really could enjoy it on such a from just like a fundamental appreciation of people's technical prowess. That's why I listen to Oscar Peterson, is because I'm listening to those runs. I'm listening to the two-handed runs, to the modulation, to when he's sitting back and holding down the when he's just playing block chords and holding the pocket, or when he's doing stride and doing crazy bass runs on one hand and these insane patterns on the right hand. I'm mesmerized by this guy's dedication to this one field, to this one genre, and having totally mastered it. Like you described Sonny Rollins or Clifford Brown, the way they developed an entire subgenre or spin-off, in bebop is remarkable in itself, and what those patterns look like. These are all things that you talk about jazz to somebody on the street, and they start to fall asleep, or they start to zone out, because it's like, oh, that's just I don't know what they're playing, or it doesn't sound like anything to me, and it's just not for me. I'd rather listen to like the top 10 Billboard charts and turn my brain off. But I wish it was more casual than it is to people my age.
Yeah, it would be nice to get something that would, like, sort of attract today's kids, something that's going to sound more like what they're into, but still has the feel of jazz to it.
Yeah, there's people like this guy now who give me hope of potentially integrating jazz back into the spotlight, or you know, helping refurbish it or repopularize it, because they take from jazz music theory and implement that in their new music and in their albums. And this is Jacob Collier that I'm describing for the listener. Jacob Collier. Not all of his music is necessarily for me, because again, it is very pop coded and very much for younger people or for a different listenership. But I do appreciate when he breaks down what he's doing in the songs as it relates to jazz, or as it relates to the chord progressions that I love and that I'm familiar with, and it explains it in a way that's palatable for people who just like to listen to stuff, and again, not really necessarily appreciate the art of crafting it, you know, or the subtle nuances. Yeah, so there are people like that give me hope that, you know, they are integrating these really, really subtle and really beautiful aspects of an enduring American art form, you know, and not just leaving it in the dust.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, not to go on the whole jazz tirade there, but that's it is nice that I can talk to you about Freddie Hubbard or Charles Mingus, and, you know, actually, because I can't even talk to, you know, my family about that stuff. Nobody knows anything except for my Nana, who I said is also a singer, really, really talented singer. She's the only other person in my whole family who likes jazz music kind of the way I do.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. I mean, as a young person these days, you know, you know, it's got to be tough to love this sort of incredible art form, but it's an art form that is not revered by your generation. So
yeah, it's just because it feels so. I think it feels so intangible, so inaccessible to them. You know, like again, like the barrier to entry seems to be a little tougher to break into, because of how it's almost completely walled itself off from, you know, somebody with like more of an entry level interest or perspective. You know, when you take band today, you get into high school band, you're doing marches, you're doing contemporary American band music, you know, John Philip Sousa, Eric Whitacre. You know, it's not, there's no emphasis on jazz in America like I think there used to be. You know, there is still jazz band, but that's like a separate group that you have to go out of your way to take interest in. There's no real jazz integration in the general band program, you know, which is a shame, because this is America. You know, you think you want to like emphasize or double, triple down on this thing that was created here.
Well, I'm really happy that all three of my sons have an appreciation of jazz.
Oh, good.
And you know, so they're in their 20s and 30s, and actually they're all in their 30s. And they like different things. You know, one of my older kid is a big fan of like Chick Corea, like that electronic, but jazz nonetheless. And then my middle son, he's into Cannonball Adderley, and that's and then my younger son is, he has a wide interest, so he'll take my Wayne Shorter records, but he's into a lot of sort of fusion records, the later Miles Davis and Herbie Hancock and that sort of stuff. So, but it's great that they appreciate the jazz, all of them do, and they know, they listen to other things, but it's really heartening for me to know that they understand that art form. So
Well, that's good. We need more people like you raising up their kids to appreciate it. That really is awesome to know. There's
a couple of them have played. A couple of them play. So that would be
what
nice.
instruments?
So, well, my son played guitar. They've kind of got out of both of my kids. Two out of three were guitar and bass. That kind of thing. So
we'll see. Then that it's not that hard if you see them. Starting.
Yeah, no,
starting off, you see what it takes. You can definitely do it. Yeah, it's all that weed. Yeah, so you were busy smoking in the auditorium instead of private lessons.
I wasn't disciplined enough, to keep at it.
It does take that. Thankfully, like I had the right amount of discipline at the right time, or the right factors reinforcing practice, where it didn't feel like work. Where it felt like necessary work. It felt like something I was striving toward instead of being forced to do. I think the reason I never stuck with piano the way I did was because it felt like something I was being forced to do, and less of something that I was good at and thoroughly enjoyed. But there was less pressure with trumpet, so I kind of took to that more. Find something. The guy in the band I was in, the drummer, he's always learning a new instrument, whether he can play it well or not. He has like a penny whistle or a recorder one day, and then the next day he's got a bass guitar from a thrift store, and he figures it out. So
wow, amazing.
It can be done. Do you have any other interests other than comedy that you're pursuing?
There's one other interest, and it may be the one that's maybe I'm the most rabid about. It goes back to this talk about the 50s, because it was a sport that was big in the 50s, not so big today. That's horse racing.
Okay.
I bet on the ponies.
Yeah.
I bet on the ponies. So, and a friend of mine and I, we were partners. We bet as partners, and we have a lot of fun with it. And I keep all sorts of records and data and all this stuff. And I don't over the last couple of years I'm kind of even, which is to me is a tremendous accomplishment. Because you usually lose, but I've got I have a ton of fun with it, and whenever any of the big races,
So you go to all the derbies and stuff? Do you go?
I've been to the Preakness once. I really don't. Nowadays, you don't go anymore. I used to go to Saratoga, which is big track in New York State, which is it's just a fun place to go. And I used to go every year up there. Not so much since COVID, but mostly now it's betting online. Everything's online.
Yeah.
The races are, it can be shown on YouTube and
you see it on
video
TV at the bar or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something I'm, it's something as a passion as well that I have fun with. So,
How does that work? So you say you have all this data. Is it data on specific breeds or specific? Are there teams? Are there teams of breeders? I have no idea how the sport works.
So it's basically it's data on horses' performance in races. And so there's different numbers that commercially have, and I've got my own sort of system. And you watch the races and you evaluate and you kind of assign a number to them, and then they come back, and then you got to evaluate each race and determine not only who's the best horse, but is the race going to be? Is there going to be a lot of speed in the race? Is there going to be are the horses that go to the front early, will they win, or will it be run by somebody else? So it's its own world. I mean, it's people like me are incredibly passionate about it, and then everybody doesn't understand it at all.
So depending on the statistics that you're measuring, do those determine the odds of return for your bets as well?
Right. Yeah. Right. And so so I try to figure out what the I try to look at a race and I try to figure out, okay, what should the odds be for all the horses? If I see a horse that should be 2-1 and he's going off at 5-1, that's who I'll bet. I'll bet the horse I think is, has got the, not necessarily the best chance to win, but is being overlooked in the wagering.
Right. Yeah. See, so the extent of my experience is a game called Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a huge game's been around for, I want to say, over a decade now. I've been playing GTA 5 since I was in high school, so it's been around for a long time now. And they only recently introduced a casino aspect to the game where you're playing in fake Los Angeles, this open world, and they have a casino that you go to and watch the horse races, and you bet on the horses. And I never really understood the intricacies of the sport, but I knew, just like what you're saying, you bet on the one that's not the most likely to win because you get the least return than if that wins, but you bet somewhere toward the top or middle of the top spread to get a little bit of something back. And then I always, if I'm doing well, I bet on like the 1 to 30 odds, and get just a huge payout. But I have to sink $300,000 into just to get anything back.
So what I'm in, I spend probably half of my wagers are on what they call exotics. So those are like, in particular, trifectas, superfectas, the first 3 horses in order, first 4 horses in order, and you can play a lot. You can play a lot of combinations.
Oh wow!
And for some reason, that's where I have found the most success is just picking like one race and 3 or 4 horses and trying to pull them together in the right order.
That's crazier to me, because that's almost like a parlay then at that point, unless...
Exactly, very much like that. But what's great about it is you can the base wager of that is 10 cents. So I can bet 30 combinations and it's only $3.
Yeah. And then what is the multiplier then? What does it give you if you do a 10-cent wager, and it wins? What does that come back?
It could be anything. It could be if you're playing the short price horses, probably averages to about $40.
Yeah, I'm gonna get addicted, Steve. I'm about to.
You can be at like $1,000.
Seriously.
Too, so.
Yeah, I'm about to open up a discretionary account just for horse racing and do just that.
If you want like a tutorial,
I would love that. You have no idea, because I play this this dumb video game, and I think I'm onto something with that. And now I hear I only need 10 cents to anticipate what order they come in the race. Yeah, that's light work. That's easy. There's this. I don't know if you've heard of this, and I'm sorry if you haven't, because I don't think anybody should really be exposed to it unwittingly. But it's. Are you familiar with anime? The cartoon, the Japanese art form.
Yeah, I really don't understand it, but I kind of know what it is.
Yeah, you don't want to understand it. I'm telling you, it's just stay away from it. If you see any of your 30-year-old sons into anime, and you'd have to smack them over the head and get them out of there, because there's this trend. It's kind of died down now, but it was big just a few months ago. There's this internet game about anime girls that are also horses that are participating in horse racing, and so there are all of these grown men betting on these cartoon women horses. Instead of just betting.
It sounds like a real, it's a real perversion of Me Too.
Oh, well, that too. There's absolutely that's certainly an aspect, and it's just. It is perverse. It is very much so. I don't know why I'm even looping it in, just because it's kind of related subject matter, but every time I think of horse racing now, I'm it's linked to this monstrosity. Anyway, I hope you don't fall down the Uma Musume Japanese horse racing pipeline.
I don't think that won't happen with me. So.
This was a big conversation among online video game players. This was how a horse girl game changed a $1 billion industry is this headline here. So it is. These are the times we live in. People would rather bastardize a wholesome sport, a wholesome betting activity, and turn it into this nonsense. If you have tips to spare, I would gladly learn, because I don't have much money to lose, but I'm willing to.
Well, I don't. The key for me has been I don't think I've ever bet more than $200 in a day. Mm-hmm. And that's rare. So the key is not to you look at it as, if I break even, it's a great day.
Right.
Right. And not to get sort of, because I've seen people who just, who are just addicted, and they're betting thousands of dollars and losing thousands of dollars. One of my kids worked in one of these casinos, with sports betting, with a heavy dose of sports betting, and I do a little bit of sports betting, but it's not my passion. And he would just tell stories about these people who would just, who would go into hock.
Yeah.
Just thousands of dollars, and they don't
just
have
sat
it.
there all day long,
and they're just addicted as if you were a heroin addict. Mm-hmm. And so it's you just have to be really careful that you're not, they're not that kind of person. But I just have so much fun with it. It's about the environment, the people you're around, like you said, I'm sure the one in New York, the Saratoga track, is fun just for the spectacle of it too. Yeah. You go in with your expectations, like it's no different from paying for expensive seats at a baseball game or at a major sporting event, except you're actively kind of participating in it too. So I totally get that. I totally do. Well, that's great. I think we can wrap it up around here. We've been going for about an hour now. Yeah, it's a long time. So
yeah, I really appreciate it. I would love to have you back if there's anything going on in Steve Nelson's world and you want to give us an update. I'd love to come chop it up with you. I wish Lorenzo could have been here this time, because he has a lot to add to this program of ours that I don't always bring to the table. He's a very unique individual, but he's a fun guy, and I wish everybody could meet him on these recordings. But hopefully next time he'll be here and we can.
Yeah, no, maybe from Key West, I'll be in touch, and when I'm down there, maybe we could do another one and have a Lorenzo involved in that. So
yeah, but before we finish up here, I just wanted to ask: is there anything that you have going on? Do you know when you're going to be performing in Key West? Do you know what dates?
I'm sure of December 2nd. Mm-hmm. This is just after I get there, so there'll be, it's pretty much, it's not every Tuesday, but it's most Tuesdays at Comedy Key West, and it's it's an open mic, and I'm I'm performing virtually every time there is a Tuesday, and and I'll be there with my good friends from down there and the comedy scene down there, so it'd be great.
Comedy Key West on Tuesdays. Go check out the open mic. Say hi to Steve and everybody who's there if you come through. And yeah, but so when Lorenzo's here, normally at the end of the show, what he does is he gives the listener, viewer, he gives everybody some advice on any topics we may or may not have talked about during the recording. Would you be comfortable with giving the audience some advice, words to live by, Steve? Are you comfortable enough to do that?
Yeah, I think, I would say the advice that I would give, and I think, I've kind of lived it, is follow your passion.
Yeah.
And when you get in, and if you like something, learn everything you can about it. Sort of, I never did that with music, but I've done it with comedy, and I've done it with, horse racing and so forth.
Yeah. But you also know your limits. You know what you're willing to invest your time in. Where it wasn't necessarily with jazz. Just as a listener, when you find something you're passionate about, I totally agree. Just rip it open. Get all the literature you can, get all the hands-on advice you can get from people who are in it. Meet people. That's like comedy. It's only through networking and through continuing to meet the people who are on the ground doing it in and out week to week that I've developed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I thought was great was the shows that you handled at the Comedy Gym with with the panels, because I thought that concept, and I'm going to try to bring it to Key West, that concept of having somebody review give you suggestions, and the people, and you sort of set the tone. It was all positive stuff. It was never anything like,
it wasn't like a roast.
Yeah, it wasn't a roast, and it wasn't particularly critical. It's more about, hey, you could think about this. And I thought that was a great program. I thought you got some really good comedians. In other words, the better comedians would gravitate to that program. So that's the kind of thing where, again, it goes into this passion. If you have a passion for it, part of it is, learn about it and learn what you can do well, what you're doing well, or what you can do better.
Definitely. And thank you for saying that. I'd like to bring that back. I would like to do that again. So stay tuned. I'm going to be producing shows in January of next year, just straight up showcases and stuff, ticketed events. But if I get to a place where I'm comfortable enough to take on an open mic again, I would love to bring that concept back, because I do get so many people who ask me, is there anything else like this where I can go to get honest feedback or constructive criticism on my set?
Yeah, because let's say in comedy, there's just no other outlet. There's there's no place where you can really learn other than seeing other people and maybe talking to them and maybe doing these brainstorming sessions.
Definitely.
But so definitely, and keep me up to date on your activities out in Virginia. I'll take a trip, maybe with my wife, and we'll come out to Haymarket or wherever you're from.
Oh, please, no, don't. You don't have to worry. I'll be in D.C. I will be in D.C. The shows I'm going to be producing too are going to be in D.C. In January. I'm already booking a show where it's going to be comedians who play instruments. So it's not going to be jazz. I mean, the portion I contribute will be jazz, but all the other artists and comedians will have their own genre. Some classical music, I imagine. There's one girl there's a comedian in DC right now who's an opera singer, or like a trained opera singer. So I'm like, I would love to have her. That's great. Get up and do a set, and then do whatever she wants, do some aria or something, blow everybody away.
That'd be terrific.
So it's going to be like that with 4 or 5 different people, all from different backgrounds, doing their thing. So I'll keep you posted on that for sure, and I'll let you know if the Comedy Gym concept makes a comeback. You'll be the first to know. Absolutely. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Do you have any advice for people who are deep in the throes of a horse racing addiction, a betting addiction?
Yeah.
This is a comedy program at the end of the day, so exactly. It's not that deep.
I think you've got to quit. I mean, I think that you can't
cold turkey.
You can't. Like a friend of mine once said, I hope I break even because I really need the money. And if that's where you're at, you can't do a lot of betting. Right. You got to bet. As if, think of it, the way I look at it is, it should be limited to what a really nice dinner with a partner.
Exactly. Or an outing, like you were describing, an outing.
These days, it's got to be like $100, because that's what a dinner will cost you. And sometimes more, but yeah. So you got to look at it as entertainment. It's a day of entertainment, and if you lose $100, you lose $100, but it's entertainment. And if you win, it's so much better.
For sure.
So that's the way I'd look at it. You got to make sure you're not that kind of personality that will let it get to you.
Here we go. All right, Steve. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to end the recording here. Thank you for watching. Is there anywhere people can find you online at all yet? Do you have social media or anything?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram to a degree. I mean, I'm getting into Instagram.
Good.
So
good.
That's probably.
You have your people that you go to for shows, so I totally get it. But I'm an advocate for Instagram because it's just so easy. It's like with the click of a finger, you can meet somebody, or you can maintain a relationship with somebody that you've met at one of these open mics, and it's just for me, it's a lot easier to navigate this scene, the comedy scene. But you have contacts already, so you don't really need it as much. But if you want to see Steve be in Key West on Tuesdays for the open mic, he's going to be there for 4 months straight, so you won't be able to miss him if you stop by.
Yeah, come down to Key West. It's a great town. It's not Florida.
Not Florida. There we go. Perfect PSA. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel. We need it. I would love to break even on subscribers because right now we're subscriber broke. And yeah, next episode, Lorenzo will be back. We might have another guest, so please stay tuned. Hit the notification bell so you can be aware of uploads. We're on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. So rate the podcast, do all that stuff, pretty please, and come to my shows as well. I'll have some stuff in the description if I am booked anywhere. If not, stay tuned on Instagram. And thank you again, Steve, for joining on the recording here. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. It's terrific.
Likewise. All right, everybody. Ta-ta for now.